American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. Perfect purpose. And this is American football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by both my co-hosts, Coach Q. Hold up, he's over here, and then Chris Green, right down there. I'm trying to point on the screen. What's going on, fellas?
What up? What up? What up?
Yeah, let's get into it. This is the
Uh,
one.
Hey, we,
Mhm.
we we back on video, guys. I think this will be the
Back
only
at it.
like full episode that we do on video this season. It's been like 3 years since we did a video, so this is fun. If you're listening or watching, AFF Podcast is available on all major platforms, including YouTube. And we putting up our first video this year. Wherever you listen, be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and rate us. Anything less than 5 stars tells us that you are a hater. We're discussing the 2023 Maple Bowl. This week, the number one seeded Sinioki Crocodiles take on the number two seeded Porvo Butchers for the 44th Maple Bowl. The championship game will be played in the city of Sinioki at the Oma SP Stadium, if I said that correctly. Should be great atmosphere with the Crocs playing in their home city. And we're going to get into that here in a second. But, it's first down. What's going on with you guys? Anything outside of the Maple Bowl interesting going on in your lives?
Man, football season about to start, man. NFL. About time.
Have we
About to
have we
go
talked
crazy
about
out
the
here.
have we talked about the Colorado Buffaloes and how they upset
Yeah.
TCU?
Now they're in
Ooh,
the top 25. I don't know how they got in the top 25 that fast.
TC, TCU was ranked 14.
Yeah, but they got 3 returning starters. They shouldn't even been ranked 17. They shouldn't even been ranked. They had 3 returning starters on the whole team. That's not even the same team.
That makes sense.
Nowhere near the
But
same team.
I do think like the NIL deals and stuff in college football has made college football more international, because I've had a lot of people like ask me about college football this year. That never happens. And no one ever asked me like how can I watch college football while I'm in Europe or anything like that. And I've even had people like send messages to the AFF pages and stuff asking how to like watch NFL and college games. So I think that college football is and we're at a point in college football where pretty soon it's just going to be, SEC and everybody else, right?
The way it's looking, see, Duke beat Clemson. That's that portal, man.
And
Transfer portal, man. We need
didn't Florida lose too? And didn't LSU
Yeah,
lose?
Florida lost.
Florida
LSU
lost.
lost to Florida State. Florida State jumped to number 4 because they beat LSU. LSU was ranked fifth, I think,
Mm,
fourth or fifth.
yeah.
So these rankings are real kind of crazy right now in the
Well,
first week.
you don't know where to rank anybody because the portal changes teams so much. Like
Yeah.
there's really no way to really rank them, which means going forward you're gonna have to like eliminate people throughout the season, which means if you're playing the right people, you're going to be able to get into the playoff by playing the right teams. But if you don't play
Mm-hmm.
teams that are going to be, seen, you can't get in there. There's teams that are like, if you're not in one of those top conferences, if you're not in the ACC, Pac-12, SEC,
You
you,
ain't
you
getting in,
really don't.
period.
Yeah, you're not getting a shot. I've seen a lot of things online about maybe doing like a playoff and maybe just doing like 2 or 3 divisions in the top FBS teams and then having them play through the records and then the top teams play like a 12-team playoff. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think college
Nah,
football is that stubborn.
them,
It's just like
them bowl
like
games too.
baseball.
Them
Yeah.
bowl games, they make the money off of those. So a lot of them smaller schools make money, too, from the bowl games. So they probably won't. They probably won't. At the most, they can at least add 2 more teams, something. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
give us
I
give us something.
I don't like the way that they like it's a selection committee to decide that while the rankings really don't, I mean, they don't really play into it. And I think like if you go originally like what college football was, winning your conference is a big deal. That should
Yeah,
be the prerequisite to get in, because then the
yeah,
strength of your conference is what determines who's the best teams. And then, and I think if that happens also, a lot of teams that are like in the SEC, they might change conferences so that they can be more competitive. And then you get that disparity of people playing in different conferences and not killing each other. And then the top teams actually get to play when it matters instead of, you have Alabama and Auburn playing a week before the title game for their conference. So one of them never can get in because of that. And same thing with Michigan and Ohio State, who have to play each other the last week of the season every year. There's no way Ohio State and Michigan can both get into the CFB because of that. I mean, because if it was up to me, I would have 4 conferences, top 2 teams in each conference go to the playoffs, and then 2 at-large bids from everybody else. Which means if you have the at-large bids, you got to, beat everybody you ever play and do it in style. But I guess that's first down. We really digressed, but I wanted to talk about college football, so that's what we talked about. So let's get into the actual show. On today's show, we're going to get into the various matchups of this game and really dissect the best we can about the 2 teams that are playing, as well as the players, and even touch a little bit on the coaching in this game. So first up, we're going to talk about the Crocodiles offense versus the Butchers defense. Okay. Now, I know Q said you had some stats. So if you want to throw something out on me, go ahead, hit me with some team stats right now for the Crocodiles offense or the Butchers defense that you think will be important in this game.
Well, actually, I think I'll say this: the Crocs obviously had they were first in scoring offense. They were not first in passing offense, but they are first in passing defense. Which means in retrospect of playing against the Butchers defense, what the Butchers are good doing or coming up with big plays in the right moments. And I think Cinderella teams, or I don't want to say Cinderella teams, but teams that make it to the championship game off of big plays, it happens. It happens. And the reason I say that is because if you go down the stat line, or if you go to the end of the year total of stats, the Butchers aren't favored really in the top 2 or 3 in most categories. Defensively, definitely not. Takeaways, yes. You know what I mean? But at total, they're not the only team with more than 10 interceptions. We got a pass happy league, so it just happens. But I think the Crocodiles offense is set up to run the ball. They do throw the ball. It looks like they throw a lot, but I mean, let's be real. Zach Whitehead is not out here throwing 300 yards a game. In fact, nobody is, actually. And to be surprised, when you go through the average of it, nobody was throwing 300 yards a game. Maybe
he was hitting
maybe
like 200, 220 on average. Like real,
I think,
solid high efficiency.
Solid, it's like solid games. And I think if the Crocs do what they do defensively, offensively, if they're gonna give Powell the ball, which I think we're all expecting. There's no reason you go into the championship game and he doesn't touch the ball over 25 times. He's going to touch the ball over 25 times. Got to. And I think that the important thing is for the Butchers to realize that. But Circular Brothers, Yane, Joel, they're a big part of it because they get the one-on-ones. They do get the one-on-ones because people load the box and they try to come down and help on the run support. What the Crocs are good at doing is running the zone read, the RPO out of that. So what happens is he long read to Powell, and then here we go. After you think it's a run, he pulls it and throws a slant to one of the Circular Brothers. They're bigger than most corners that they're going to play against, so they win a lot of those one-on-one matches. And I think that's going to be a problem for the Butchers because Zach Wright, they're going to have to decide whether or not to let him sell out on stopping the run, or he's going to help these corners who we don't have much faith in.
That's where I want to jump in a little bit and talk about the personnel in this matchup because you're naming them. So I just want to go in there and just talk about them. And so that we can do this on this podcast, kind of throw out some of these names. We know that on our normal podcast, we can't speak on everybody. But for this, we're going to try to throw out as many names as we can. You said it for the Crocodiles, their receivers. You have Janne Sarkila, Ville Olenquist, Yoel Sarkila, Casper Harju, that's number 9, if y'all don't know who that is, Christian Ristila, number 82, and then William E. Koskela, number 83. And I named those last couple of guys because they've at different times shown up. You know, they're not as well known as the Sarkila brothers and Ville Olenquist, number 1, who's kind of been around all season. But those other guys do show up when they need them. But when we look on the other side of the Butchers, I mean, we got Zach Wright. Nico Royko does decently in coverage. But after that, okay. I'm going to name who they have. And, I mean, if you think somebody that I'm going to name can cover one of those other guys, then you just let me know. But you have your new import, Jordy Ajeti, playing corner. On the other side of him, you have Topi Ahokalio, number 2, as well as Emili Hassanen, number 32. So those 2 guys have been playing corner for most of the season. And then your backup safety is Ilmari Ikahimo. I can't say his last name, but Ilmari plays safety number 42. And he's been getting in rotation whenever they move, sometimes they'll move Nico Royko down. And then you'll see Ilmari get into the game, and him and Zach Wright will be back there. So when you're looking at this, and Chris, you haven't said anything, so I'm going to toss it to you. When you're looking at these matchups, how do you feel that the Butchers can, keep up with those Crocodiles? Because it's going to be one-on-one situations. They're going to have to put 8, 9 people in the box. You have to. It is what it is. Just like what Q said earlier, you have to stop the run. Paul's going to get his touches, but it's going to come down to these one-on-one matchups. What do you think about the Butchers' chances with these guys?
I mean, it goes without saying that the Butchers have had their struggles with the defensive backfield this season. They look better when they actually put Miko Sepinen back there as well. So I think they need to play him both ways. He needs to play corner, especially if they're going to load the box of like 8 or 9 guys. Like, you've got to get Sepinen out there because he's probably one of your better one-on-one cover guys. Zach Wright, we know, is a dog. Like, he's just a dog. He just reads the game well. We alluded to things when we were talking to him on interview. We were talking about how he watches film all the time. He just seems to be in the right place at the right time. Nico Royko, solid player. But like you said, beyond those 2 guys, they don't have a lot else. So it's going to be difficult to match up one-on-one. I mean, what they might have to do is they might have to stick Zach Wright on one of the Sarkila brothers to try and take them out of the game. But the only problem with that is he's then not in run support as much because he's out playing corner. So it depends which one you want, because you got to stop Powell.
Yeah,
that's it. You've got to stop Powell. The only way the Butchers have got a chance to win this game is if they stop Powell. You don't want to let Powell beat you. If Zach Whitehead beats you, okay, all right. You don't want Powell to beat you. Like, that is the key to the game. It's stopping Powell, and whatever it is they're going to do. Maybe they might add in some like crazy blitzes, like corner blitzes or something, just to change it up.
Dumb. I don't think
I don't
think those corners
not with a running
any
back
of that
like
smoke.
That.
I don't
not
think they want any
like
of that.
Yeah.
They're going there with the
But Zach Whitehead can
eyes
move.
closed.
Zach Whitehead can move, though. That's the thing. Zach Whitehead
can
run. So that's a whole other aspect of like we were talking about with Brandon. But yeah, you're right, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, when you say like Zach Whitehead, that leads me to the next group. When we start talking about Crocodiles running back versus Butchers linebacking group. And obviously, when we talk about the Crocodiles, we say, CP, Christian Powell, that's the run game. But Zach Whitehead is part of the run game as well. And he's sneakily one of the better running quarterbacks in this league. And I think it's a little bit undervalued because Christian Powell is so good. But a lot of times he pulls that ball, he gets what he needs. And it's effective because it makes the defense have to do more than just load the box and key in on number 15. But on the Butcher side, I think when I look at their linebacker group, again, similar to what we said what I said in the interview earlier, when I look at these players individually, Nico Pennanen, Brandon Wellington, sometimes Nico Royko in there, those are good players. Those are guys that you can, believe and trust upon. But when it comes to stopping the run, I have zero faith that they're going to be able to do it. And I don't know if it's maybe because of, the offensive line from the Crocodiles. Maybe that could be more prevalent, getting to the second level or something. Or maybe just, seeing Christian Powell be able to make those guys miss. But last time they played each other, they had nothing for him. And I don't know if that's going to be anything they can fix in this game. And just to throw out a couple more names, because I'm dropping names, we have seen Sadou Jallo get a lot of touches playing running back for the Crocodiles, kind of being the backup and giving Christian Powell a couple breaks every now and again. And then on the Butchers side, they have a couple of younger guys, Felix Salonen, number 98, and then they have a very young kid in Caspian Kosmanen, who also gets in a couple of reps. But what do you guys thought about that matchup, like the run game from the Crocs versus the linebacking group for the Butchers?
I'll say it actually is probably it's a better thing for the Crocs to run the ball. I mean, let's be honest. Like I said, the stat wise, when you look at the stats, Butchers are fourth in rushing defense. They're fourth. So
4 out of 7. I think we got to make that.
Yeah,
4 out of 7.
So they're fourth out of 7 teams. Fourth out of 7 teams. They're the 4th team in rushing defense. Crocs are first in rushing. No, actually, they're not first in rushing. I won't say that. The Royals are first in rushing. The Crocs are third in rushing, I think, offensively. But we do know that the Crocs have a big offensive line. They're going to try to control this game with keeping the ball on their side, obviously. You don't want Brandon Gwinner to get the ball and have to be throwing the ball 35, 40 times, because the more he does, the more opportunities they have to score on you big and quick. So I think the Crocs will try to manage the clock running the ball. They're going to make Brandon Wellington, they're going to make him play. They're going to make him play. I don't think he was there the first game they played him. The second game,
I don't think so. I think
he had just got there, maybe. Or
he didn't play it. He wasn't in the first one, and in the second one, the other import I think had just quit. Like I think right before that game. So I don't think they didn't
so this
have
will be his
second
first
import.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see him. He looks like an aggressive guy. He also can play his offense too, so he's a pretty good offensive player.
Very athletic.
Very athletic. Yeah, so it'll be important to see his role in this game. He like I said, he hasn't played against Christian Powell, but the guys that I've talked to that have, that's a strong individual right there. That's a strong, that is a big running back. I mean, just like size wise, I mean, he's a load period. It's nothing he's not going to shy away from you. So coming to this game, 30 carries is what I'm thinking if I'm the linebackers for the Butchers. I'm thinking at least 30. I'm going to have to hit with some linemen, running backs all game. We're going to set the tone. So whatever team sets the tone, I think the Crocs are going to try to do that. They're going to try to set the tone early in the game, first quarter. Don't be surprised, first drive, they run the ball 3 times in a row. Do not be surprised.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that they're going to do that.
Don't be surprised.
The reason I will be surprised because of what they've done all season. Almost all season, they've come out and not giving him the ball right away, and then later giving him the ball to take over the game. I think just going off of what we've seen from the Crocs, they to fill the other team out first because they know what they're going to do.
So I feel like this is a little different than a regular season game, because I feel like you don't have and that's why I was talking about yesterday. Time, it seems like in a championship game, time flies faster than it does in a regular game. It's like the first quarter is over before you know it, and every drive really counts in a championship game, because that first drive, you get the ball, that first drive, you're trying to score in a championship game, because that's going to mean something. Butchers are full of young players. They do have some veteran players who have been on, like you said, been on the championship when they won back in the day. Those are vets. You know what I mean? Like you gotta worry about scoring on your corner, first quarter, first drive. Beats him deep on the first one. You got to worry about that confidence. Like you say, you jump in the ring with Mike Tyson. I don't have to fear Mike Tyson. Jump in the ring with him, but when he hits me, I have to make a decision then. I got to make a decision then. Like, am I going to get back up and fight still, or I'm going to lay down? And in football, everybody knows that cornerback position, receivers, anybody will try to pick on you. They will try to take your confidence, because once they take your confidence, before you know it, you done gave up 2-3 touchdowns. It's been a bad day for you. Now your team is over here trying to throw the ball when they really want to run the ball. So it's a lot of that. I'm not saying that the game will go like that, but I'm just saying the Butchers have to worry about that because they have so much youth. So as a Crocs, if it's me, I'm coming out first drive, first play of the game, I'm giving Christian Powell the ball, because I know, for one, the defense is going to be overzealous. They're going to be like, oh, they're probably going to think like you thought. Hey, they've been throwing the ball. They'll never give it to them on the first play. And then this championship game, here they go, running the zone, and he taking 50 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like, this championship game type stuff. Like it's just, it seems like in some kind of way, there's always a person or people that step up in certain games. And I feel like the Crocs have been consistent enough in every category throughout the season to say that they're going to be successful doing this if they just stick with what they've been doing. You can go game by game and say, oh, they didn't score on this drive or they kicked the field goal on this drive, but the proof is in the pudding. The stats is the stats. They've been the top in the categories because they're consistent. Not saying the Butchers won't have an adjustment to it, but I think if the Crocs run the ball, it's going to be a problem for the Butchers front seven. And if Powell gets to the second level, it's going to be a long day. But that's just,
Yeah. So the next group I want to talk about would be the Crocs O-line versus the Butchers D-line. And we say this all the time, right? Games are won in the trenches. And I really think that this is one of those situations where it just is going to be evident early and long in this game. The Crocodiles' offensive line is better than the Butchers' defensive line. And obviously I want to give some flowers today, so I'm going to go through the linemen. But when you're looking at, the Butchers on the defensive side, you're looking at Jesse Fulks-Tuda, number 55, big 5'5", great defensive tackle. Outside of him, I feel like they don't have any help. I feel like there's no help outside of him. And that's what happens if you watch this defense a lot of times is he wins. He wins a lot of his battles, but it doesn't matter if there's nobody there to fill the hole. If he forces, the offensive players somewhere and no one's there to make the play, they end up on the second level anyways, or even the third level sometimes. And I think he leads this group, but the rest of the group has to catch up for them to do well in this game. And just throwing out some other guys, number 95, Ronnie Ponanen, he's had a really good season in my opinion. Not great like Jesse, but he's a solid defensive lineman. They brought back the fireman, Ville Kurvinen. He's got to be like 70 now. Like, I don't know how old he is.
Hey, that's a monster. Hey, he's been playing for a long time. That's who we were talking about that got the championship. I think he was playing with them when they won the championship back in the day. Yeah. He's been around a long time, man.
And I'm a digressor just so if people don't know, because a lot of people that watch our show might be new to football in Finland. Ville Kurvinen is one of the best receivers to ever play in the Maple League. And then he did a second career and changed the defensive lineman when they needed him. And as you can see, the last couple of weeks, I really only remember seeing him in the last game in the playoffs. Yeah. But when they needed him, I think they went and said, hey, we need somebody. And he's the guy. He's like, okay, I'll come out there. I'm a strong guy. And he's going to give them something on the edge that they haven't had all season. But we haven't seen that yet. We really don't know. He did get a lot of pressure in their playoff game. But again, we don't know how that's going to work against this Crocodiles group. And then the rest of their O-line, Number 90, Oscar Pajunen, decent. Number 97, Julius Voxentuda. I don't know if those two guys are related. Is Jesse old enough for that to be his son? I don't know. But number 97, he's pretty good too. And Noah Neti, number 93, another good defensive lineman. Again, individually, this is a good group. Defensively, on the D line, this is a good group of players. They have good technique, good size, speed. They can get after the quarterback. But as a collective, it doesn't always work out. It just seems like they don't work collectively on the same page at the consistency that we're accustomed to seeing from the Crocodiles. And then if I go to the other side of the ball, talk about the Crocodiles offensive linemen, obviously you got the two tackles, Tuomas I can't say his last name. You know what it is. Oscar Stromstead on the other side. And then Otto Makinen is the center. He's going to be leading the charge, leading that group. And then your guards, you have Miguel Makinen, big number 66. And then they brought in Matthias Stockamp to make that offensive line complete. And when I just name all those guys from the Crocodiles, there are no holes. Like, that's not a group that you like, well, we can – no. Like, there's no holes. I mean, not to say it in a bad way, but the worst player on that group probably is Otto Makinen because he's a little bit undersized at center. But he's also probably the best center in the league. So
yeah, he's probably the smartest. Yeah, I'm about to say he's the smartest one.
Like, I mean, I'm saying physically, he's probably the only one that you might be able to like get something, but he's playing center, so he's most likely doubling. So there's really not any holes in that offensive group, which makes it tough because, you know, if your best guy is your nose tackle, Jesse Voxentuda, he's going to be doubled. And Otto and anybody, they can handle. Like, it is what it is. If you're getting doubled, you're getting doubled. And then everybody else is one-on-one, they're not going to win those matchups. And, I mean, I feel like I've talked about it too much, but that's how I feel about this, about the O-line versus D-line.
Arguably, this Crocodiles offensive line are probably the best unit as a whole that's going to be on the field this weekend.
Yeah.
They could arguably be the best unit as a whole. It's a damn good offensive line. It reminds me a little bit of the Steelers offensive line from last year, who were just solid as well. Like, it's no word of a lie. It's a cliche. You said at the beginning. The battle is won in the trenches, and I truly do believe, even though it's a cliche, I think this game is won or lost here, because if the Crocodiles can create holes for Powell, it's over with it. It's over with. That's all she wrote.
Ain't bullying. They can't get bullied. That's for sure. Can't get bullied.
Yeah, and the last part, we have about 2 minutes before we need to move on. I wanted to talk about the Crocs offensive coordinator versus the Butchers defense coordinator. Get a little bit into the mindset of it. And if I'm thinking correctly, I looked it up. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Crocs head coach, Kerry Iarusi, and the Butchers head coach, Lassi Voipio, are what that matchup is. I'm pretty sure Kerry calls the plays for the Crocs and Lassi runs the defense for the Butchers. So when this is the key matchup, when your two head coaches are both calling the plays, both offensively and defensively, in this matchup, what do you guys feel about how it might go, or who would have the advantage out of these two? Play calling wise, what we're looking at.
I feel like the Crocodiles offense have been play called really well this season. They've had, like you said earlier, they've had a mix of, heavy carrying of Christian Powell, but then they've gone to the read option when they need it, the RPO. They've gone to the pass game when they need it. Zach Whitehead has been consistent all season. He's not thrown many picks. He's not thrown for a huge amount of yards, like you say, maybe averaging about 200 yards a game or something around those numbers. But he's consistently there, and he does what he needs to do to complement the run game that they have. So it's kind of like a really, really good balance of play call. Yes, they are run heavy, but they know when to call the pass and when to do the RPO. And Zach Whitehead's a smart guy. Like, he knows when to pull it, read it, give that ball. So I think the Crocodiles OC has the edge here if I was picking between the two.
What about you, Q? You got about 30 seconds to tell me something.
Being that I know Lassie, I feel like Lassie he understands defense. I think he just has to be probably a little more aggressive than he has been, maybe blitzing wise. He has played on a championship team before, championship defense before his career with me. So I'm gonna assume that he took some of the stuff that we used to do that worked and simplified it and made sure that he implemented it in his defense. I would. I mean, it worked. But I think it'll be an even match. Honestly, I think it'll be even. The Crocs don't have anything that they have to. They already know what they're going to get. I think the Butchers do, so it makes it easier. You can focus. So I think it's a little even battle.
Moving on, let's flip the script. Let's go Butchers offense versus Crocodiles defense. And again, I think the major thing we're going to talk about here is, the passing of the Butchers versus the Crocodiles secondary and their pass coverage. And I'm just going to throw out a couple of names for the Butchers receivers. You got Mikko Seppänen, Christian Nautanen, Lucas Arella. That's the big three everybody knows about. But then also you have Fung Nguyen, who comes in every once in a while. I don't know. I don't know if he just don't play in some games. But he shows up every once in a while. And then Mickey J has been seen playing a little bit of slot receiver later on in the season. And then number 17, Sami Nikkanen, has jumped in and out every once in a while as well. So they have a solid group of receivers, and they prefer to pass the ball. That's kind of their bread and butter. While on the other side, you have the Crocodiles. You've got Eric Irvin at safety, Atu Tuoko at safety, Thomas Anisiadis at corner, Heikki Toivola at corner, and then you kind of have Artu Tapola, who plays linebacker, but he's more like a nickelback sometimes for them, the way that their defense is set up. He's an outside linebacker, kind of more like a nickelback. He actually plays DB on the national team, so it's like that in-between spot. And then we saw in the playoffs that, and I think the last game of the season as well, number 20, Oxley Syrian, is back from injury. And the Crocs are high on having him on the field, and he plays safety. So what do y'all think about this matchup? Butchers receivers versus Crocs DBs. How you feeling about it?
I'm a little half and half on this one. Because I've seen the Butchers offense flow, and I've seen it on days where it was working nice passing wise, more than run. I know a few games we've seen Mickey get off, do his thing or whatever. But here we are again with lopsided statistical, things, matchup wise. The Butchers, they can't score. They can't score on everybody but the Crocs. The most
Everybody
points
but the team they're playing.
In 2 games, they scored what, 27 points on the Crocs in 2 games?
Yep. Well, they scored 6 in the first
6
one.
points on the first game.
But I mean,
they lost.
With the second,
they scored 27 points on this team.
The second time they scored 20-something points, and there was a touchdown called, we all know that was a touchdown. Everybody knows that was a touchdown, but there was no ref there to call it. So they could have scored, another touchdown in that game. And that was all in the second half because they were losing 21-0 in that game. So
I forgot about that. I forgot about that touchdown that was. You just reminded me.
Yeah. If they get that touchdown at the end of the game, it's a tie ball game, and either forcing overtime or something else can happen. But also, they were down 21-0 and lost 28-21. So they outscored the Crocs in the second half of that game, and they showed that they can. I mean, that's showing that they could beat them. Obviously, it was because I was wearing the Butcher's hat. And that's what really changed it around for them in that game. They had 0 offensive points.
21-0 because, like Brandon Gordon said, they start out slow. And like I said, this
You're right.
is a championship game. You cannot start off slow in a championship game before you know you're going to be down. And regular season game being down 21-0, these guys tend to be a little more relaxed on defense. Second half, you kind of just like going through the motions a little bit. But in a championship game, the adrenaline rushing, that they're not stepping off the wheel if they go up 21 points because you're trying to beat the brakes off of them, like to show people that they're not supposed to be here. So once again, the Butchers offense is capable of scoring points, but they just have a hard time doing it against the Crocs. That's all I'm saying. They having a hard time doing it against the Crocs.
I agree with you.
I don't know why.
It's
It's like, but partially it's because of the Crocodiles defense. When they got a D line, like got a rushing D line. That's exactly what their D line is made for, rushing the passer. Brandon Gwinner wants to throw the ball. He hasn't had to run a lot because they've been so successful with him doing what he does. But this is a game where they give him problems. This defensive line gives him problems. So without being, I mean, they shut him out first half of both games they played him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And partially second of the first one. But I just think that the Butchers offense is going to have to be pretty much perfect in this game. Like they're gonna need Mickey to have an outstanding game. I don't mean like the normal average because the Butchers not like up there in rushing averages. Like they're only averaging like 90-something yards rushing a game.
I think their thing is more yards per carry type of thing. Like Mickey will get like 5 or 6 carries and get 70 yards compared to most running backs who need like 12 or 15 carries to get 70 yards. So like he's very good in a low usage amount. And I mean, go ahead.
No, but what I was saying is like, no, you're right. Like they don't use. I don't think they use Mickey as like he's our premier back type of thing. Mm-hmm. He is our starting running back, but he's not like a premier back. So they don't go into games thinking that he has to touch the ball 15, 20 times a game or whatever. They put him in certain situations. You want to go to the red zone, which they are in the top for red zone scoring. That's why the Butchers, if you can finish drives, you'll be in every game. You can find a way to be in every game. If you can get turnovers, you'll find a way to be in every game. But I just think the Crocs defense at home is a pretty good defense. Like I mean, away they're okay too, but at home it's like the defensive line is on another level when they're at home. So I think the Butchers offense is gonna have to be somewhat perfect. Like they can't turn the ball over, and if they do, let it be minimal. You know what I mean? Like don't let it be where the guy was supposed to be there and you threw it to him or whatever, because I think they can't hurt him in that aspect. But Miko Sepinen, Christian Nautanen, like they're not sorry receivers by any means, so they're gonna get theirs.
Oh, correction. They're the best receivers in the Maple League. And we forgot to talk about this last time, but you came out here talking about them Roosters guys like they were something.
Tell me.
No offense to the Roosters, but I'm going to say it here now. Them Butchers boys, them the best thing smoking in the Maple League. I had to say it. I had to. I had to take my shot.
I'll let you plug them in. If they want to use the last game against the Roosters, or if they want to use the day in the championship as a way to say that they're the best receiving corps, I said this 2 years ago that the Butchers had great young talent. I said this 2 years ago. Like I knew they were gonna eventually be like this, which they are nice. Miko Sepinen, dedicated Butcher. You know what I mean? Like he's working on building that organization. I understand that, but
best thing
they just don't play it. They don't play it good against the Crocs. I mean, it is what it is. I keep going back to that. They play. You can play the Wolverines twice. You can play UNC twice.
You're gonna make me do it. Okay, hold on.
The Roosters twice.
Hold on. Let me talk here for you. Look here. Look here.
That don't change the facts.
Let me tell you something about these here Butchers.
Where were they at in this first game? Where was those guys at in this first game they played in? Where was they at in the first half of the second game? Where were they at? Nowhere to be found. So,
all right, I want y'all to go on a journey with me here. If you were to say have some one-on-one drills or have to see some one-on-one matchups between these Butchers receivers versus these Crocodiles defensive backs, I'll say this flat out. They winning every time. No problem. They're better than those defensive backs one-on-one. They're better. And I say that because that is putting them on their individual talent. This is a team sport. When they play the Crocodiles, they don't get those one-on-ones. Crocodiles don't have to do a whole lot of man and everyone stick to your own, put 8 in the box, because they have a D line, like you said, that can get pressure by themselves, which means their linebackers get to help in coverage. So those DBs for the Crocodiles rarely get put on the island. And then you'll notice, and if you saw the last game when the Butchers played them, when those DBs do get put on the island, when Thomas Amasitas has to go against Lucas Arola toe for toe, Arola beats him every time. But I digress. That's why they got the best receivers. But their offensive line will not hold up against the Crocs defensive line, which means those receivers don't get to go one-on-one. They have to get into soft coverage. They have to find holes and then hope that the quarterback is going to be able to find them as he's running like a chicken with his head cut off because those defensive linemen are chasing him. So again, Butchers wide receivers, best thing smoking. I'm just saying.
Look, I'm going to say this
as a group. Best thing smoking.
I'm gonna say this. So with what you just said, maybe we've just been bamboozled into thinking you're thinking they're the best because of who they play.
No, I'm telling you,
there's not one defensive coordinator in this league who is saying we got to focus on him. We got to focus on him.
Because there's 3 of them. It's a package deal.
It don't matter. It don't
yes,
matter.
It does matter. Every other team, you name one guy.
We already said there's no corners in the league. We already said there's no corners in the Maple League. There's no shutdown or anything close to corner.
Again,
so
they're the best in the Maple League. I didn't say they're the best receivers in the world.
Getting shut out in both Crocs games doesn't mean anything to you. You trying to say because they played the Wolverines.
We all know football. Hold on. No, we all know football. If the quarterback can't throw you the ball, how you going to show out? You can't show out if the quarterback can't get you the ball.
That ain't my problem. But you just say the best receiving core because they scored 60 points on the
No, that's not why I said they're the best
twice.
receiving core.
And
I never said that. That's not why they're the best receiving core. They're the best receiving core because individual talent, they are the best. And you can watch the film and see those are the best receivers in the league.
How many of them starting the national team? Miko Seppi, the only one starting the national team.
Now we digress. First of all, I give 0 F's about the national team because that don't mean nothing. Everybody knows you ain't on the Roosters, you don't play on the national team. We can get into that. Everybody knows if you ain't on the Roosters, you don't need to be on the national team. That's how
we don't want to get into politics about national teams.
We don't want to get into politics. We don't want to get into politics. But look, you know what? I'll take my hat off. We're gonna let it ride because we're getting crazy out here.
But look, you can feel that way. That's cool. You got a great argument about it. I guess we'll see. I'm just going off the last 2 games of these 2 teams playing. I'm not going off of nothing else. I'm not going off of what you should have did this game, that game. I'm going off the 2 games that I've seen before. The 2 games that I've seen before. The Butchers offense couldn't do anything against them in 6 quarters.
I agree.
6 quarters, they couldn't do nothing against them. So, looking at that, I'm feeling pretty good. If I'm the defense coordinator for the Crocs, I'm feeling pretty good.
I agree 100%. Again, like I said, I don't think that they'll be able to have a good game because of the Crocs defense as a whole. Individual talent is different, and that's not what wins football games. Individually, you can't win a football game unless you're Travis Hunter from the Colorado Buffaloes. He's that guy. He's the only person I know. He couldn't do it without the quarterback. So yeah, that's the only person I know. They don't need a quarterback.
He's even got the D on his jersey for dog. That's Deion Sanders. He put C for captains and D for dogs.
D for dogs. That's crazy. But getting back to this,
some good receivers.
Getting back to this whole Maple Bowl that we're supposed to be talking about. Next position group, we're kind of going through the position groups. You alluded to them earlier, the running back versus the linebacking group. I feel like the Butchers with Mickey J and Alexi Hervinen. I think something that's been maybe not talked about enough because we don't have the time is number 22, Alexi Hervinen. Hey, kid got speed, vision, and he's a great runner. And he's a great complement to Mickey J that allows Mickey J to do more than just receive handoffs. Because when Mickey J goes to slot and Alexi comes in, you don't lose anything. And that's really helpful for this team that wants to spread their defense out. I think on the other side, if I had a Crocs hat, which I don't, I would put it on right now and say the Crocodiles have the best linebacking core in the Maple League. No holds bar none, fade all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Juhani Kobamaki, Sado Jallo, Jaska Vatanen, Artu Topola, those four guys as a group, there's not a better linebacker group. They give you everything you need from the linebacker position. As I said earlier, they cover. They get into coverage. You know, Juhani is a converted safety, so he understands where the ball should be, where routes are run, and he gets into those lanes. Jaska Vatanen could be a nickel backer if he wanted to be at times. And Artu Topola, I already mentioned him earlier, kind of as a defensive back. And then Sadu Jallo is he's a run stopper. That's what he does. He see ball, get ball, gets in there, helps in the run game. As a unit, they're unstoppable. But I do think that in this matchup, the Butchers actually have the advantage because I do feel that Mickey J and Alexi Hervinen are a little bit more versatile than the best linebacker group in the Maple League. So I kind of contradicted myself. I'm sorry, but y'all take it.
No,
Are you going to put the Butcher's hat back on now?
Look,
Mickey J, Alexi Hervinen, best thing smoke. I do think that those two guys in this game, you said it earlier, Q, is that Mickey J isn't the feature back, but if he was, it would change things for what the Butchers could do as an offense. Because as good as they are in that passing game, they're not going to be able to get the ball downfield like they want to. A lot of their concepts, they're not going to have time to run them. And Mickey J is that guy who can force the defense to slow down.
He's the X factor in this game.
Yeah, if you make that defensive line think, hold on, am I pass rushing or is it a run? I have to do both, or is this guy leaking out? Just slow them down enough that you can run your offense. It changes how they're going to play against them. And I think the last two times they played against them, they haven't done that. They haven't really made Mickey J that guy. And matter of fact, if you remember the second half in that second game, Mickey J came on late in that game. He started catching passes out the backfield and made a couple of plays. I think he scored in the red zone as well. But it was a little, too late, too sorry, nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
If they come out letting him be kind of the feature, what'll happen is that defense will have to focus on him, and that'll open up all those receivers that I named that are the best thing in Maple League.
Yeah. I was about to say something similar in that if the Butchers want any chance to win this game, they need to run the ball well. Because like you said, it's going to open up them receivers. You start running the ball well, you get that edge on the defensive line, suddenly they've got to put an extra guy in the box. What that does, that opens up a zone. Okay. It gives maybe one-on-one coverage on the backside. It gives you something different. So for the Butchers to win this game, they've got to run the ball well. They have to. And they're going to have to feature both backs a little bit more. Maybe they might run a bit of two-back. Or even with Brandon Gwinner, like we talked to him in the interview about him running. Like we've not really seen it much this season with his legs, but that boy can run.
Yeah.
So with him in the run game, with these two running backs, if they get success early running the ball, that's their opportunity to win the game. That's their key to victory. If they run the ball well early, I feel like the passing game will take care of itself.
Well, I think you both got good stances on it. I'm thinking more of maybe Mickey helps more in the spread, maybe the empty, where you could get him out one-on-one against some of these linebackers, some of these DBs, some swing routes, because like Purvis said, the defensive line is going to be rushing. He's not going to have that much time. So you're only out most of the time to the swing route. That's, the dump off is maybe
Or that
screens.
they do that screenplay. I was going to say they have a
Yeah, the
really good
screens.
screenplay
Like
for him.
that's what hurt teams like that. That's what hurt aggressive teams, defensive aggressive teams. But the thing that the Crocs have an advantage is they don't have to blitz. So not having to blitz means that Mickey J can run the screen, he can run swings, but there's always a backer or two who's going with him. But the thing that will help the Butchers is that, like we said, Brandon Brennan can run. So you have to decide though how much of a balanced offense you're going to be in this game and say, hey, we're going to come out this first half and we're going to try to open up this zone read, or we're going to try to open up this RPO. If not, do you plan on just dropping him back and letting him throw the first half and then see how you doing and then maybe try to get Mickey in there second? I don't know, but I think Mickey is best for them is going down the stretch. When they're like trying to close games, he's a motor. He gets the ball. He gets gas. He gashes defenses at the third or fourth quarter. I think that's when he hurts people the most because he still has his energy. He hasn't had the ball 15 times already. So I think it can work for him if they use Mickey the right way in this game. It could definitely give them some disadvantages as far as matchup wise. But they have to decide: are we going to throw the ball 50 times, or are we going to go 20 and 20, or 25 and 25? It's just you got to make a decision if you even get that many chances in this game. But I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Let's talk about the real deal in this game. The Butchers O-line versus the Crocodiles D-line. Again, for the Butchers, you have Jonathan Yasavada at center, Vino Pakinen at left tackle, Socrates Siltakorpi, who is probably going to be playing right tackle. And then they have Eustace Asovada at right guard. And then they kind of rotate at the left guard or right. One of the guards, they kind of have different people coming and going because they have some holes. I'll say it now. They got some holes. I think with the Butchers O-line, you got two good end pieces when you move Socrates out to tackle. When he was playing guard and they had Eustace Asovada at tackle. And I say this with nothing but conviction because I've been watching O-line this year, like heavily, because we had to do the all Finland thing and we were going to go two teams deep, which meant we really need to know who's good and who's not. Eustace Osavada is the weak link. Like that kid, he was giving up everything early in the season, and that's why they moved Socrates from guard to tackle. Every time they played a good rush team, Socrates will go from guard and start playing tackle in that game. So in this game, he's going to be playing tackle instead of his natural position of guard. On the other side, Vino Pakinen, he's doing fine. He's going to do as good as you can get for a left tackle. He's one of the best in the league. Sorry, he didn't make the all Finland team. He was close, but it is what it is. It was a league vote. But outside of those two, the middle part of their line, that's going to be trouble because they're not strong in this middle. Those two guards can't handle by themselves. But if Jonathan Osavada has to help one of them, the other one is going to get beat. And he can't help both of them against the rush that the Crocodiles are going to be able to go with Seth Zins, Philip Zakic, Elijah Watson, and now Diego Paz Gonzalez. They brought in another guy to beef it up. I think Chekin got hurt or something like that. It's going to be a real long day for the Butchers O-line because they have to figure out ways to stop that pressure, which goes a little bit into what we were talking about with the running back. They might have to keep the running back in. They might have to keep him in to block. And that will only take away from what they can do with the running back. And now that I say that and I'm thinking about it, they have a tight end. The Butchers use Osco, I can't say his last name, starts with an M, number 83. He plays tight end for them. So they might actually have 6 O-linemen basically. which takes out either a receiver or a running back from getting into routes. What are your guys' thoughts about this matchup?
I mean, that's a load to handle with. When you're saying about your interior is your weakest point, and you've got Seth Sins and Sakok in there. I mean, geez, like, and then you've got Watson and Gonzalez to complement them. It's going to be a long ass day for that Butcher's offensive line.
And what's crazy about that, the Crocodiles D line, sorry to cut in there, is that those 4 guys, they can rotate. Like, they're not all like interior or rush. Like, they can move, which means they will find the weakness. And when they find it, I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do.
I mean, the only thing that the Butchers offense can do is go quick game. Like you said earlier, getting the running back in the swing, throwing those slants, throwing the quick outs, just getting quick game to make them adjust. Do something to make them adjust. You know, you've seen teams sometimes where their defensive linemen are flying out because they're like, oh, there's a guy. Maybe try and run some jets to try and widen out the defensive lineman and run the counter off the jet. Something creative to get this defensive line moving without having to block them for more than a second. They need to do something along those lines, because if they try and take them 1-for-1 heads up, I'm telling you now, they're going to lose. It's as simple as that. This CROCS D-line is too good to take 1-on-1. They can't be solo blocking them. And there's 4 of them.
Best in the Maple League. Yeah, I said it.
One guy. I mean, it's no secret.
CROCS D-line, best in the Maple League.
They are.
Hold on, I do have a CROCS cap though. It's an old one, guys.
Oh,
okay. Bucket, you got a little bucket.
Bucket. I can't fit it. It's too small. Like, it doesn't fit my head. I actually tried to wear it for one of my interviews. Like,
send it my way.
Well, I guess it doesn't fit though. Like,
all right. They don't fit the dreads, but it's all right. You can pull it off for a little interview or something. Championship party.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna wear this for while we talk CROCS D line. Best thing in the Maple League right here. You can't name a better D line than what the CROCS got, baby. Yeah, I said it.
Purvis is just the ultimate hype man today.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, I'm hedging my bets. I'm flipping. I'm on whatever is hot. That's what I'm
so
doing.
Fast. Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast.
What are your thoughts about it, Q?
You guys hit some good points. But like I said, with the CROCS having such a D line the way they do, I don't think they're necessarily built for stopping run, but they stop the run with the help of their linebackers and safeties. They wouldn't be, the number 2 rushing defense in the league if they weren't good at it, and they wouldn't be the number 1 scoring defense. They're number 1 on a lot of defensive categories for a reason, and that's because they make plays at I think of every level of their defense. Like you said, their linebackers need to help them pass. Yuhani is a great hybrid linebacker for that. He can play nickel. A lot of those guys on that squad, they can move around different places. Like we were saying, Eric is safety. He can just play safety. But he can play nickel. He'll be moving around a lot. But I think what's more important in this matchup, this O-line versus D-line matchup, is Gwinner and his legs. I mean, he's going to get rushed heavily. So what he decides to do when he starts to be on the move is going to be important. Is he going to put it on himself, or is he going to rely on those top receivers that you said? So I think that's more so of what's going to be important, because we know the CROCS D-line is better than the Butchers O-line. I mean, anybody that watches film or watch the game can tell you that. The Butchers are in the championship, but that doesn't mean their O-line is the greatest. Like, and that doesn't mean that, you know what I mean, they just out here not giving up anything. But it's gonna be very important. The Butchers O-line can't let the CROCS get to a point where they're getting back there to the point where Brandon can't even get 3 seconds to throw the ball. Like, you don't want that type of game. And like I said, the worst thing you could do is have a championship game also in your home field, because it's like the atmosphere is made for you. You play faster, you play stronger, and the CROCS got that advantage along with that too. But having an aggressive D line can also help you, and that's why the Butchers can adjust and run screens and zones and draws, and it'll help.
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly. They have to do something to make up for the fact that they're underwhelming compared to the Crocs D line. I don't know what I'm looking for, but anyways, let's talk about the coaching. You got the Butchers offense coordinator versus the Crocodiles defense coordinator. Butchers offense coordinator Christian Lynn versus Crocodiles defense coordinator Charlie Ove. We don't really get into them personally. We just kind of go over what we see play calling wise. In my humble opinion, I think this would be a wash. I don't think that either one is going to have to do well. I think the Butchers offense coordinator is going to have to be creative to be successful, and he's going to have to do some things that they haven't done before. While on the Crocodile side, I think their talent is really what's going to make them work well. Is that they have more talent in more of the positions. You know, their defense is kind of set up to beat the Butchers offense. The way it's set up, you got a really good O-line, a really good D-line that can get you pressure at any time so that you can cover all these damn receivers. Like, you don't have to send your linebackers. They can get in the way and make it hard to throw to the receivers, because receivers now have to navigate between linebackers and DBs. You basically can have 7 guys in coverage against 3 receivers. And that's hard. Like, it doesn't matter how good the receivers are. It's hard to get open if there's 7 on 3. And that's basically what the Crocodiles be working with. I think their DC for him is just don't overthink it. If they do get a big play, don't change things up and get all crazy like, oh no, we got to do this. I mean, it's football. Sometimes it's going to happen, but if you stay consistent like the Crocs have been all season, they don't really have to do a lot play-wise in this one from the defensive side. What do you guys think?
I think, like you said, the Butchers got a more of a task ahead. Their coach has a more of a task, trying to figure out the holes and the advantages he can get and take. Because the Crocs don't give you many chances to find those weaknesses like that. The D line doesn't allow it. So even if you don't have good safeties or good corners, you'll never be able to expose them because their D line is so dominant and so active that we do get to see it, because we have seen the Crocs DBs get beat. We have seen that. And it's usually when the other team has more time for the play to develop, or the quarterback is on the run. Then yeah, now you have an equal chance for your receivers winning these battles, because now the Crocs have to play more of a man-to-man type of situation. But mostly, as a whole, the Crocs D line is so dominant that most DBs don't have to cover that long. They don't have to run a lot, so they're healthy, they're fresh. You know what I mean? 3 and out, like they're used to that. So the Butchers OC is going to have to find a way to prolong his drives and try to find ways to hit him in that hole, because Miko Sepinen will be very important in this too. I know we talk about the coaches, but Miko Sepinen is very important in this game, because he will start the game off with a linebacker probably inside of him and a safety over the top, probably Eric over the top of him. So it's going to be very important to see what this OC do when he figures out who the Crocs are going to focus on taking out of the game. And I think the smartest thing to do would be start with Miko first, to not let him get going, because he's going to hurt you the most.
Oh, I know what he's going to do. He's going to do that little out route that he do from slot. He's going to run that little out route.
You can't guard it. You can't guard it unless you
the safety
2.
Can't help because he's going out, and then the inside leverage, and he gets out of it so quick. That's the quick game right there.
The Crocs defensive coordinator now on this side.
Take his hat off, put my Butcher's hat back on.
The Crocs defensive coordinator has to be creative too, because I know when you're coaching defenses, sometimes you'll run cover 4, 5 plays in a row, and then the next play you run cover 2. But that's how you mess up other offenses. That's how you mess up other teams' plans, because now that out route has been hurting us when I was in cover 3. But now I switched to cover 2 one time, and my corner's there to lay this hit or get a pick. And now I got you readjusting what you want to do and running this play again. So I think the Crocs DC has a task on his hand too. It's just a little easier when you got a D line like that, where your risk, you know what I mean, it's not that high. It's like I know they're going. Yeah, you don't really have to take risk that much. Like your safeties will be able to help on these deep balls all the time because they're going to be one step drops, one step throw. That's all he pretty much going to get. And now your safeties can be out wide and help you out on deep routes. But it'll be interesting to see what the Butchers OC do and what he decides to do. If you want to keep it balanced or keep it run heavy or pass heavy. But he got a task. Either way, they both do.
Do you have anything, Chris?
The only thing I want to add is that because of the talent of this front 7 of the Crocodiles, you don't really need to be creative with your play calling because they're going to get theirs. Yeah. And as a DC, when you've got players like that, there isn't a lot that you need to do. But one thing that really did interest me, I was just looking back at the stats. In the 2 games that these 2 teams have met, there's only been the Crocodiles have only sacked Brandon Gwinner once.
Oh, he's not going to take no sacks.
And so that's why I looked at tackle for loss as well. 4 in each game, so 8 TFLs over 2 games, which is interesting. So it's
tackling
gonna
Mickey like that. I mean, because they ain't tackling Brandon.
Yeah. That's what it is.
I thought
That's
it
what
was
he's
quite
saying.
interesting.
Like,
but pressure is pressure, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pressure means more. Pressure means more. It's an overall effect more than sacks do. So
sacks is for them quarterbacks don't know how to get rid of it or get out the pocket. Brandon Gwinner, he'll move. That's for sure. He's definitely gonna move.
Yeah, he's a big dude, nice sized dude. So
that reminds me. I know we only got a couple minutes, but last thing I wanted to say was, we don't really get to say like who the quarterback goes against because he goes against the whole offense, but. These 2 quarterbacks, you got Zach Whitehead for the Crocs and Brandon Gwinner for the Butchers. What are your thoughts on like which one of them is going to have a little bit of a better game in this matchup? Really quickly.
Man, I real quick, I think Zach Whitehead. We haven't really praised him that much this year because of the team that he has, but he has done a great job. Brandon Gwinner, balling, a lot of stuff you expect out of him. The thing is, I don't think a lot of people seen what Zach Whitehead can really do fully.
Yeah.
He's starting to show him running more now, but out of the 2, as far as having a better game, I think stat-wise, Brandon Gwinner might end up having better stats than him. But I think control-wise and going through the game, I think Zach Whitehead will be better at that because he has a more balanced offense to I don't have to make every play. Brandon Gwinner touches the ball every play and pretty much is in control of how that offense goes. Zach Whitehead, that's not his mission. His mission is just facilitate, make the throws that he need to make, and score the points they need to score and let Powell do the rest, pretty much. So it's a little easier task in his hand. But I expect a good game from both of them.
What about you, Chris?
I think there's a lot more pressure, and similar to what Q said, there's a lot more pressure on Gwinner because he has to show out, whereas Zach Whitehead's just got to do the basics. He's just got to do the basics right. If he can do what he's done all season, be Mr. Consistent, I think he's only thrown 4 picks on the year, Zach Whitehead, and 24 touchdowns, which is efficient as hell, man. Four picks in 12 games. That's some stat, that is. So he's just looked after the ball. If he does that, if he looks after the ball, doesn't try to force anything, hand a rock to CP, he'll be fine. Whereas Brandon's got more pressure on him because he's got to be the playmaker. He's got to be the guy back there running around. This defensive line are going to be chasing him because they're going to get to the backfield. Like he's going to have to move and he's going to have to find his receivers on the move. Yes, he has the best receiving core in the league. So if he can get mobile and put the game on his back, they're going to have a chance of winning it. Definitely. So I do think quarterback play is important, more important for the Butchers than it is the Crocodiles.
So we went over offense and defense for both teams going against each other, but obviously there's a third phase to football. So let's talk about the special teams. And we won't really get into like personnel like we did with the other positions, but just kind of run through what special teams and who we think has the advantage in this game or disadvantage if you want to go that route. So start off with kickoff teams. Does either team have an advantage on one when it comes to kicking the ball off?
I think they've got. No, go on, Q. You got it.
I think maybe the CROCS got an advantage in this, better kicker. But I don't really.
Yeah, we'll call it a push.
I don't think this. Yeah, it's a push right here. This isn't something that I think
it's a
it
push,
can make a difference. But they haven't shown that it makes a difference.
It's field position. It's one of those field position things. It's a push because I don't think either team is like overly focusing on it. But I will say from just the experience of knowing the players who are playing, Yanni Sarkula can kick it out the back of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
He can. I don't know if he will do it or even if he's going to be doing the kickoffs, but making the Butchers drive the whole field is always a good idea because that forces their offense to be more efficient, which that's been the issue they have is being efficient consistently. So going down the list, kickoff return teams. Now this one, I think if I was to say something, I would say that the Butchers have a little bit of an advantage. I think they have a few guys who can score as returners. Lucas Arola, Brandon Wellington, and even Zach Wright, if he gets in there, if they get a kickoff return, there's been a couple times. I think did Arola score a kickoff return this year?
Yeah, a few good kickoff returns. He
had some big ones. He's definitely had some big ones.
I think he scored a kickoff return on a national team game or something, and that's what I'm thinking. But he has that type of speed. Yeah, that don't count. You're right. My bad. Yeah. But he has that type of speed that he could score something like that. And really underrated is Brandon Wellington, is because he's kind of new. We don't know him that well, but every time he touches the ball, it's crazy.
He almost scoring a lot.
Yeah,
he's like close to scoring some of these plays that he does. Like even the run plays, he's like almost scoring on.
Every time he touches the ball, he could score. So the next thing would be punt teams. Who has the better punter? I mean, Butchers, right?
We already know this. That's not even a great statistic, though.
We're just going down the list. I mean, obviously, the Butchers have the best punt, but I mean, do you really want to have the best punter in this game?
I know.
You don't want to be punting the ball in this game.
You don't want to be punting. And if your best receiver is your punter, I mean, he's like, one of my jobs I'm doing well, I guess. So because I mean, if you're not catching, then you're kicking. So if you don't want to catch the ball, you're gonna punt the ball. The next one would be punt return. Again, I think you're going Butchers.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, it's just because of that return. Like Zach Wright, you get the ball in his hands, he looks electric. Brandon Wellington, you get the ball in his hands, he looks electric. Arola, the boy can run. Similar kind of argument to the kick return stuff.
Yeah. So then go to field goals. I think we're going CROCS with this one.
CROCS.
Yeah, CROCS. Do the Butch.
And if it comes down to it,
right?
If it comes down to it, I'm like the CROCS will probably win the game off of that. If it comes down to it, because not saying Miko has a range. He has a range, but this kicker, the CROCS kicker, can kick some field goals, man. Like I'm talking about clutch field goals. So
he can kick a 45-yarder, which is basically a professional,
which is clutch in Finland.
Yeah. I mean that's not clutch in Finland. The only places where 45-yarders are given is the NFL. Everywhere else, if you kick over 40, you're a scholarship athlete playing kicker.
We'll take you.
That's just how it is. And the CROCS have that in their backyard. And one thing, just to go on this a little bit more about the field goals, is they're probably the only team that is good enough to get the ball right to that range. Because we said, like, Miko Sebinen has range, but look at the games that the Butchers have played. Look at the games a lot of teams have played. Rarely do you see a team get to that 40-yard field goal where they have to decide punt or go for it. Most teams don't get there. They get stopped before they can get to that little range, or they get into the red zone where it's like you have to go for it. While the Crocodiles, once they get to the 40-yard line, they're like, shoot, let's just, get 5 more yards and we can kick it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start thinking, in that type of mindset instead of, okay, it's third and long, we have to get the first down. No, we just have to get 3 or 4 more yards, get him in range. And that's going to change how they go about a lot of things in this game, knowing that you can do that with that kicker. And I don't know if we named him, but we should name him Etu Makamonis, a young kid from Sinioki. Last thing on here is field goal block. Do we think either one of these teams are going to block a field goal?
CROCS.
Oh, yeah.
CROCS. Yeah, they had a lot of them early. They had a lot of them early in the season.
They got speed off the edge as well, deep line.
Yeah. This could change the game to make the game break or break the game early too. If this happens, if they pull off one of these field goal block or extra point block, anything, all that stuff is gonna make a difference in these games. So
we've seen Eric Urban do it. Like he's done it this year.
And I honestly think the Butchers have only tried like 1 field goal this season. I don't think they're gonna even try to kick a field goal. Like, I don't think it's in their blood. But, okay, so just to sum up special teams, we said kickoff teams, push. Kickoff return,
Push.
Butchers. Return, we went Butchers. Kickoff return.
Yep. Butchers.
Okay.
Yep.
Kickoff return, Butchers. Punt, Butchers. Punt return, Butchers. And then field goal, CROCS. And field goal block, CROCS. So we got 1 push, 3 Butchers, 2 CROCS. So we thinking Butchers have the better special team set up?
Yeah,
it's still a push, right? It's still a push.
I think the Butchers
can return and the CROCS can
they
kick.
got more chances. They got more chances to. I think they get more chances. Punt return, kick return. You probably get more chances of that than you do.
Field goal and field goal block.
Field goals and stuff. Yeah. So
true.
I think the Butchers is probably a little more leading in that special team category. They can affect the game more.
Yeah, because they're gonna. You're guaranteed at least 1 kickoff return for sure.
Yeah.
They've
got more of that, I guess, game breaking ability in the special teams game, which is what you want. It's a momentum changer. You get a score on special teams. Like, how much does that get the sideline G'd up? Like, it's a momentum changer. So it's really important.
So now we're at the last picks of the season. That's the part we're at right now. And I did the tally anyways. So we're gonna see where the rankings are at. Basically, everybody went 1-1. Everybody went 1-1. So in first place, Spencer is 35-9. Coach Q is 34-10. So basically, y'all need to pick different teams for this. So we're not gonna tell him what team you pick before we get his pick. Can't tell him what team you pick.
We already know who Spencer picking.
I think he should pick. Chris Green is in third, 33-11. Finland Swami is in fourth, 31-10. Perfect, I'm in fifth, 30-14. Coach Mike in sixth, 30-11. Seventh, Alex Malchoy, 29-12. 8 is Jabari Harris, 25-13. 9 is Andy B, 24-12. And 10th place is Jamal Clay, 23-15. We got a lot of people picking.
Shout out to Jamal, though. Shout out to Jamal.
He went.
He got 1 week right. He got 1 week right.
It was all or nothing, right? He was like,
right.
Somebody gonna make me right. You gotta appreciate.
He was always picking the opposite. Like, he's a real friend. I say that because he just be picking his like, all right, I'm gonna go with them because everybody else picking them. Like, bro.
If you don't know, last week pretty much everyone picked CROCS and Roosters to win, and Jamal Clay picked the Royals,
Royals,
the Crocs,
and the
and the
Butchers.
He was
Butchers
the
to beat
only one.
the Roosters.
He
And
was
he
the
was
only
like,
one that didn't pick the Royals
yeah,
and Crocs.
he's the only one.
Roosters and Crocs.
So and by doing that, he still ended up going 1-1 like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
It did
Crazy.
almost nothing. Like nothing changed in the standings, but it was funny. So, I mean, obviously picking the winners is, I mean, there's not a lot of art or science to this. And again, we don't consider ourselves experts. We consider ourselves enthusiasts. But it's championship game. We're gonna take this time before we actually do our picks and kind of give any final thoughts about like how you feel this game is gonna go, or what are you excited to see? You know, whatever you want to get on your mind about this game. This will be the last chance to do it before the game. Do you want me to go first so y'all can think while
No,
I'm
I'll go
talking?
first. I'll go first. I'm gonna go and get it out. Starting off with, I'm gonna start off with my pick first.
Okay.
I'm going with the Crocs. Nothing against the Butchers. I want my boy Lassie to get him a championship. I do, because he supported me when I was doing my thing. I do want Lassie to get a championship also, but I'm looking at it from a standpoint of actually them. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of them actually doing what they have to do to win this game. And I just don't think the Butchers, when we get to the fourth quarter, is going to have enough to stop the Crocs. Like if it comes down to the Crocs having the ball to score, I don't think the Butchers will be able to stop them. It might not come down to that, but I just think Christian Powell and that group, they have been on a mission all season, and I haven't seen where they just digressed as a team to the point of like where I feel like they're in trouble in this game. I don't think they're going to be in trouble in this game. I do think they're going to get scored on. I do think they're going to make some mistakes, but I think they're going to make less mistakes than the Butchers are. And I think the Butchers, great season for getting here. With a little bit of help, not taking away from what they've done, but they did have a little bit of help getting there. But I just think the Crocs is a better team. I think the Crocs have been more consistent. I think Christian Powell in this situation and in this game is always, not this game, but in these situations, he's proven to be exactly what we know him to be. And I just think a heavy load of him is just going to be too much for the Butchers defense. And for a defense that's not built to stop the run, but you're going to play against it, I think you're playing behind the 8 ball already. And I just think he's the last person that I would want this defense to see for a championship. Not saying that they can't play with them. I do believe they can play with them. I don't see them. I just don't see them, not the way they've been starting off games. I just don't see that the Butchers will come in this game and take control. I know we're not doing scores, but I think the Crocs win by 2 touchdowns.
Ooh. Oof. Y'all want to do scores? We could do scores. Throw out a score.
Hey, 34-21.
34-21. I got to write that down because, they're going to hold us to that. 34-21 Crocs. What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm going to say a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to say, Butchers, if you're listening, run the ball early. Run the jet sweep. Run the jet counter. Let Brandon run. Roll him out of the pocket. Let him find his receivers. Get him away from the defensive line. Crocs, if you're listening, in Powell we trust. As simple as that. Get a ball to CP15 and go win the game. Man, that boy's been grinding in Senayoki for a minute. Like, if anyone deserves a championship more, it's him. Like, he's stickability, staying with that side for a long time, like what, 6-7 years now.
Yeah, he's loyal, bro.
He deserves it. He deserves it. And there ain't many people that work harder than him. And yeah, am I doing my pick now, or
Yeah,
You can
might as
do it. You
well.
already
I
did
mean,
it. You already
yeah.
did it.
I mean,
So
yeah. I guess you got to
Do
do
I-
it and do the score is really what we're going
do I
for
go with
now.
my head or do I go with my heart?
Your heart. Where's
Because-
your heart? What?
Whoa, wait.
You said my head or my heart?
I'm trying to figure out what's the
Because
difference.
every part
Yeah,
of
me too.
Every part of me in the semi-final, every part of me was telling me, pick the butchers, and I just couldn't bring myself. And I don't know what it is. I just got a feeling that the butchers might do it, but I can't bring myself.
You need a
to pick
hat.
the
You need the
I
hat.
can't bring myself to pick the damn Dallas
Hey,
Cowboys. I just can't.
That's what happened to me last week.
Imagine a team imagine them announcing early the championship game is going to be played at your home field, and then you end up at your home field for the championship game. And a betting man would tell you, Chris, no matter what, go with them.
Tampa Bay Bucks, LA Rams, Kuopio Steelers.
Yes, you cannot
don't get me
Helsinki
wrong.
Roosters for like 8 years.
Like I said,
you can't go against
like
them.
I said, every bit of me really wants to pick the butchers, but I just can't. Like, part of me telling me they've got a chance, but
so what's the score? So the score is what's going to let us know how you really feel.
So I'm going to say the Crocs are going to win, and I think the Crocs are going to win. I'm going to go a bit higher than Q. I'm going to say 42 to 14. 42.
Whoa.
That's what I'm going to say.
They're going to hate you, Chris.
Hey.
Take that pain of the butchers away from me, because, whoa. I wouldn't even try them like that, though. I wouldn't even try them like that. Though.
I would. I'm not gonna lie, y'all make me want to pick the butchers just out of spite. But I'm not feeling that kind of risky today. I'm obviously going with the Crocs. I do wish I had a better hat, and I'll be in Sinioki. So if anybody knows where they make hats in Sinioki or something, hook me up. I mean, I'll be there like on Friday, so we have time to like make a hat or something, guys. Let's make this happen. I just think that the Crocodiles are a better team. It's one of those things where, I mean, it's not my heart like what Chris has going on. I'm not that emotionally involved, but you do kind of like the story that the Butchers have, and we've joked around about them being the Dallas Cowboys, but they really have lived up to that. Like, they've been a really good team with some glaring inconsistencies throughout the season, and that's what makes us say, it is a weird comparison. They're not the Philadelphia Eagles. So, that's how this game looks. Like, you have one team that there are no questions about the Crocodiles. There's not anything about them that we're like, oh man, that could be an issue in this game. No, we don't see that. For the Butchers, we're like, they have to do this, they're gonna have to do that, they're gonna have to play the best game of their lives to get the win. Which, that's true. If they play their very best game, they can win this game. But I would be stupid to think that that's going to happen. Like, that's not a very good odds maker guess for me. So I'm not going to assume that's going to happen. But what I am going to do is I'm not going to disrespect these boys like y'all have and say they're going to get beat by 2 or 4 touchdowns, Chris? Your heart is with the team that you think is going to get mollywopped? That makes a lot of sense. He's like, I want to pick you guys, but y'all going to get killed. That's what you just said. Me personally, I think that this game is going to be true to form of most Maple Bowl games, where it's not close, but there's not a lot of scoring. Because one of those games where neither team really just runs up the score. And so if I'm going to put up a score, I'm going to say 24 to 14. That's what I'm going to go, which is under the average. I think that at some point the Crocs are going to kick a field goal and get up by a weird number. I could see it being like 21-7 at half. And then both teams just kind of like having a struggle and settling in the second half, and both teams score, or maybe the Crocs get a field goal in the second half, and then they're winning, so they kind of like just do enough and play that field position game with punts and stuff. While the Butchers, once they get behind, I mean, that's a wrap. Once they get behind, they're gonna press, and once they start pressing, the Crocs defense is gonna be able to do whatever they want. And it'll just be one of those like, how long is this game going to last? But it's still, I mean, I think that's how it'll be. I think it's gonna be a very exciting first half. But I think after that first half, we're gonna kind of know who's gonna win the game. I don't see, unless the Butchers come out and just get ahead in the first half, that'll be a whole nother thing. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But I do feel like it'll be a really good first half. And then by that time, I'll know who's going to win and probably start having some long drinks.
Long Caros.
Look, one thing I didn't say, purpose. I wanted to say one thing I didn't say. Like Chris said, they've been grinding over there in Crocland, man. And in football, you do have Cinderella's stories where a team out of nowhere that that wasn't Corpio, it wasn't the Roosters that end up in the championship game. And rarely they do win. Sometimes. I mean, in history, you can probably look up some teams that it doesn't happen to, but I think in football, a team like the Crocs who've been grinding years and years and years, and then they finally get there, it's like it would be a crushing second time of them losing.
They were there last year.
Game. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like crushing, like are we cursed type of thing. So I think they have a different mindset now in this game. Like, we've been here, we know what we didn't do to get to our goal last year, but now we're back. And that's hard to do. It's hard to go back to back in any level of football. But I don't know, man. I can't go against Christian Powell. Not this year.
Well,
I just can't.
You make a good point. You make a really good point when you say it like that, because you're looking at the two teams, and I mean, I don't know who, but nobody had the Butchers going to the Maple Bowl. Like, that's not something that we saw. So them making it is kind of the accomplishment. Similar to what happened.
Yeah, it's the peak.
Yeah. Which is similar to what the Crocs did last year. And you see how that worked out for them, is they played against a team that were like, we're trying to get a three-peat. We hear about this business. And that's what happened to them last year. So when you look at it this year, I mean, I think, again, we're not trying to downplay how hard or how important it is to the Butchers. And I mean, for that organization, for that city, finally getting back to the Maple Bowl. I mean, we've been calling you Dallas Cowboys because you haven't been close to the Maple Bowl. We've been saying making the playoffs doesn't matter. You have to get to the Maple Bowl. But now you're at that point where you got to win it. And I say this with the utmost respect. If you don't win it, that confirms the Dallas Cowboys, because nobody cares about coming in second. Like, it is what it is. But it's also one of those things, like, obviously, if you're part of that team or part of that organization, you're playing with house money this weekend. Just getting there really is an accomplishment. And you have to feel like, oh my gosh, we're back. Like, just making it to the Maple Bowl means you're a contender for the next 2 to 3 years. Like, that's how you should feel. And that's accurate. But again, Crocodile's on a mission. It's at their house. They're in their home city. They are the perennial favorites to win this game. And they haven't won since 2001. And they've been to a lot since then. Like, it's not like this is their first rodeo and they're just happy to be there. No. I know it's taken Christian Powell 5 years, but before he got there, they were going every other year and weren't getting any dubs. Well, you can ask Spencer. You can ask our friend Spencer Cutland about all them silver medals.
Yeah, in the last 8 years, they've been to 4 or 5 bowls?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, about half of them. I mean, like the, the Buffalo Bills of the Maple League.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they were.
Is that who
Always
we're
a
calling the
bridesmaid,
Crocodiles?
never a bride.
The Buffalo Bills. The Crocs
No,
of the
but
Buffalo Bills.
we can't.
Buffalo Bills with Dallas Cowboys.
No,
We can't call them that because of the
want-
Buffalo Bills today are a totally different type of team. Actually,
Yeah, you're right.
but the Buffalo Bills today they can't get to the Super Bowl. It's
Yeah.
like,
But
that's the only reason we
but you're
couldn't call
right
that.
though. It's a historic thing. It's a history thing. Like you have to go on history too. Even though I
Yeah.
think the Butchers, like you said, the Butchers peaked. Some teams, their championship game is the playoff game. They exert so much out of that game that you come into the championship game expecting things to go the way that they've been going, or you expecting things because sometimes you go in games and nobody makes big plays. Nobody.
Yep.
And you're like, man, what was wrong with us? Nothing.
Yeah.
It's just the other. It's just this is football. This is what happens. Like you would like for Zach Wright to get pick sixes in a championship game and make it a great story, but it's a chance that it might not happen. It's a chance he might just have 8 tackles, a tackle for loss, and that's it. And you think, oh man, he ain't really do nothing, but it ain't that. It's just you play the game how it's given to you, but you also have to respect the fact that the work that somebody's put in on both sides. Like, all right, you got to wait your turn, Butchers. That's how the Crocs feel. Y'all got to wait y'all turn. Like we've been here. we've been chomping at it for a minute. Like,
If it helps anybody, I'm an LA Rams fan, and if y'all know how we did when we played against Tampa Bay, we were one of the best offenses like in the league. Had that like 80-point game against the Kansas City Chiefs during the season. Got to the Super Bowl through some. No, was it the shenanigans? Was it that year against New Orleans? Was it the shenanigans that year? Yeah, the shenanigans. I mean, it is what it is, but we got the opportunity, couldn't score a point, lost 10-0 in the Super Bowl. And it took 2 more years before we got back and we won it all. I say we because, I'm part of the team too. And now we're not good again. But I could always say, 2021, baby, champions. So that, I mean, that has nothing to do with anything. But I'm just saying that for the Butchers, it's a great accomplishment to be in the game. But for both teams, you already have done enough that you have the respect of everyone that is supporting you or rooting against you, that you deserve to be there. And that's something that you can hang your hat on no matter what happens in this game. And it's really good to see that the 2 best teams made it. And whoever loses, I guess there's next year for some people. But whoever wins, make sure I have your hat on. I'll be supporting you guys. I'm willing to do, a halftime change, like if I need to change hats, because I only have the Butcher's hat, which means I'm probably going to wear it from the beginning of the game. So Crocodiles, if y'all know anything about me wearing the Butcher's hats, they're 21-7 with me wearing their hat against the Crocodiles.
They're not even going to let you wear that hat on the Croc side.
I'll walk out there. They're going like, hey, you want to take that off, buddy? Gonna take you off back.
Chris, I don't know. Chris, I don't know if you know, but there's like, it's a myth about the Crocs at home, man. Like in those games, like you're playing against the Crocs and somebody else. You're playing against the Crocs and somebody else. Like it's just gonna go that way. And hey, we'll see what happens though. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But definitely both teams made it. You guys, hey, that was enough, man.
That's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Hope it was worth the listen and the watch. Guys, any last words before we get out of here? Anything you want to say to anybody? This is it for us.
We here. Championship week. 2 best teams in the Maple League. It's a different final to last year. I can't wait. Should be good.
Yeah, good luck to both teams. I'm gonna shout out my boy Lassie again. Lassie, defense coordinator for the Butchers. Also Gravedigger Yari Morning, and he used to play for the O-line for the Butchers too. He was my teammate at a point with the 69ers. So it's good to see him and those guys get to this point as coaches. So I just want to congratulate them on getting to the Maple Bowl. But that's about all the love they're gonna get from me for as a pick, though. But I just want to see a good. I honestly want to see a good game. You know what I'm saying? I support all the teams, but if the Butchers somehow pull it off, you know, congrats to them. If the Crocs win as expected, I think for most people, then definitely congrats to them because they worked hard for it. They've been grinding for it, and we'll see what happens though. But y'all gave them 14 points though. I would be offended. I would be offended. 14 points.
I gave him 14 points and only gave the other team 24 though. Like I gave him 14 good points. Chris gave him. Ooh.
We pretty much got the same score. We pretty much got the same score though, Purse. Me and you do.
No, you got them.
It's fine.
You got them losing by 2 scores, but 2 like touchdown scores.
No, I don't.
You got 34 to 21.
Yeah, dude. I meant to say
you got 2 touchdown scores. I got to say 1 score and
24 is what I was gonna say. 34-24 is what I was gonna say, but because I knew they was gonna get a field goal. So
I got them with a field goal, but I don't think that. I feel like it'll get so far like ahead that they just don't get enough points. I don't know, but yeah. My last words would be good luck to everybody. I will be out there for the first time in like 2 years. I haven't been to the last few Maple Bowls because I already knew who was going to win before it happened. Go Steelers. But this game, I really don't feel confident as I would like to be that, you know, the Crocs are going to just run away with it. So it's worth me seeing up close and personal. So I'll be in Sinioki. If you see me at the game, say hi, you know. And good luck to everybody out there, man. It's going to be a great game. Go ahead.
One more thing before I forget. The weather forecast is meant to be sunny and hot. When was the last time you can remember it didn't rain on a Maple Bowl?
I sent somebody.
You never said that.
I sent somebody because I'm supposed to be in Sinioki. I sent somebody the weather forecast. I was like, "Is this for real? Like, what is it really like in Sinioki?" And they said, "I never know until I step outside." No, I'm taking an umbrella anyways.
It say sunny. And it's supposed to be nice and sunny outside, and then you get there and it's like raining and gray.
Cats and dogs.
Yeah, and that's a totally different game. I know we didn't talk about that, but that could change a lot of that game too.
That would make rain. If it rains, then it would be closer to Chris's score, 100%. Like I think that if it became a game where you can't throw the ball, it would put the Crocodiles in an advantage that is just not even fair. Mostly because you still can't tackle Christian Powell. Yeah. Imagine trying to tackle him if he's wet. Like that's ridiculous. It's not. I mean, it's just not even fair. But that's it for the show. If you enjoyed it, follow us wherever you listen or watch your podcasts. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And if you don't do any of that and you just put comments, but you don't follow us, that makes you a hater. And if you're one of the people, you know who you are. And I'm sorry I had to say that, but you know, we lose a lot of our time putting this show together for you guys to enjoy a little something. And if you're gonna hate, at least follow us. Like if you're gonna hate, that's cool, but you know, subscribe, like something.
Hey, they hating, but they still watching.
Still watching.
But click the subscribe button, man. That's all I'm asking. Yeah. So
or at least share it. Or share it.
Share it to a non-hater.
Somebody that just
the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah, we do appreciate the feedback, and we've been getting a lot of that lately, and that obviously means that people are enjoying at least something about the content. Even if you don't like it, sometimes it's fun to not like stuff, and we're okay with that. You can follow us on the gram and Facebook at American Football in Finland. I don't know what our YouTube channel is called, but if you type in American Football in Finland, we show up on YouTube. I don't think we have a custom one yet because we don't have enough subscribers. So click subscribe so we can have a YouTube channel that says American Football in Finland. I think. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Stop hating. Tell them to stop hating.
And stop hating. So until next time, never forget
I
F.
We gone.
And we gone.
There you go.
American football in Finland.